Okay, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our at-home distant learning series. You'll notice that I'm wearing the same outfit because it is the same day and I'm trying to knock out a few of these videos all at once. But for you, this could be a day or so later, and what we are going to be doing is continuing with our A-flat major scale and our A-flat, concert A-flat major exercises and practice, something that you can have fun with. Eventually with this unit you're going to get all the way through to being able to create your own kind of melodic ideas in the key of the A-flat. And the first thing is, you might have noticed in the last video that saxophone players are always saying to me, Mr. Myers, this reed sounds really stuffy. You might have noticed in my last video that my reed was a little stuffy. It is kind of still the winter time and my heating system is running in my house, so you'll notice that the reeds often on woodwind instruments end up being kind of warped. And so what I have here is just a glass of water, and you can actually let your reed sit in that cup for a little while. I had it in there for about a minute, and that will kind of help get the reed ready to play, and it'll take out any waviness in the front of the reed, which will give you a nice sound. So soak this for about a minute, throw it back on my saxophone, and if we test this thing out, we got some much more control, less stuffy, and a little bit better tone on that. So that's one little tip for my saxophone players out there, for clarinet players. Let your reed soak for maybe a minute or two before you play, and it'll take you that much less time to have to warm up before you really feel like you have control over the instrument. So our next step here, last lesson we covered full range scales. So hopefully by now you spent some time working with your concert A-flat major scale. And you're feeling pretty good with it. The next step is honestly going to be to just kind of mess around with that. Now, I had an old teacher, Mr. de Blasio, Mr. Denny, some of you guys got a chance to meet him. He has a whole YouTube series on something called the Fermata drill. And the Fermata drill is where we don't put a tempo, we don't put a click or a beat. We just take time to mess with a scale and see what kind of pretty sounds or ideas we can make out of it. So if I took 10 seconds, 30 seconds here, and I played with F major scale a little bit. So I jumped around a little bit, I kind of went diatonically up and down, just creating some fun melodies. Starting and ending on F is fine, especially for your first time. If you're a more advanced player, you can actually pick other notes to start and end on. So I could start and end on the third note, otherwise known as Mi in the solfege. So I can start and end my ideas on an A, but still using the notes from the A-flat major scale. So that was starting and ending on the third. I can start and end on the fifth. So you can just experiment with kind of starting and ending on different notes. That's if you're at a little bit more advanced level. Now, you can also, you might be saying to yourself, Mr. Myers, there's no way that I can play all those notes. I'm still working on getting my scale full range. So you can also have fun with just creating rhythms with a few notes. So I'm going to pick Do, Re, Mi, just the first three notes of the scale. notes right there. I was able to make a little melody, make a small phrase or small idea. Maybe I say I'm going to try the first, second, and third. And maybe you liked the way that the C sounded. So I'm going to do do, re, mi, and so. So here we go. So there, that was 4 notes. Do, re, mi, and so. Get your first, your second, your third, and your 5th note, okay? And then maybe say, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. Let me add one more. Let's try la. So I'm going to go do, re, mi, and I'm going to skip fa, and I'm going to go to so and la, just for fun. And so you can kind of mess around with those 5 notes. So that will kind of get you started with Fermata drill. Just trying to have fun with the scale and create something that sounds pretty. If you can create a melody that's memorable and has some kind of lasting impact, that's a great start. Mozart would have done the same thing. He would just take a scale like this and he would try to create something very memorable. That was literally just do, re, mi, and so. The whole thing. So this is something that musicians have done in every different style of music, in every genre. It could be classical, it could be jazz, it could be rock. But all you're doing is getting to know the scale and create with it. One last little thing, you might have heard me jumping around in one of my warm-ups. All I was doing to get that really kind of jumpy sound was I was just going from do to mi, re to fa, mi to so, fa to la. I was just going every other note, just bouncing. Skip a note, go down, skip a note, go down, skip a note. That gives you a really fun sound. It's called thirds. And that's something that you can, if you're getting bored with just going right up and down the scale, you can try your scale in thirds. I'm going to do a whole video on that later. But if you heard that sound and you're like, oh, that was really neat, how did he do that? That's what I was doing right there. So this is your second video. It's called Fermata drill, and what I would do is take the next 10 or 15 minutes of your practice session and just try and create something that sounds really cool. Pick a few notes. Maybe the first 3, maybe do, re, mi, and so, do, re, mi, so, la. Those 5 notes are going to sound really great, so that's why I kind of recommended and suggested them. You can, you don't need to worry about the 4th note fa or the 7th note ti just yet, but you can use them too if you think they sound good. It's completely up to you. This is very self-exploration based, and it should be really fun. So now that you're working on your Fermata drill stuff, I'm going to come back with your next video in the series of putting it all together with some backgrounds.